I want this character that I made here to be my Yordis, the Sword Maiden, so export her. Now you have her tint mask right here, and you have her Nif, which sometimes can have some shaders missing, like for example the skin shader is missing here, obviously, and also something that actually happens all the time, the subsurface map is missing for the eyes, but we will add that. And of course the bones don't have any translation values, it's all set to 0, so it looks a little borked, but it doesn't matter, it's just visual. So because the NIF that I exported from race menu is missing a skin shader, and just because I want to know what my file name will have to be, I'm going to export the original Yordis. In Creation Kit, highlight her, and then press Ctrl and F4. Export, yes. Now the head that I just exported, it will be located in Meshes, Actor, Character, FaceGen Data, FaceGeom, Skyrim.esm. Now, if you edit an NPC that comes from the Hearthfire's, Dragonborn, or Dawnguard DLC, it will be in its respective folder, but because Yordis is from the base game, she will be in Skyrim.esm. Sort by latest change, and this is Yordis' ID, and this is what she looks like. This is vanilla Yordis, just using my texture replacers, nothing else. The next thing you'll notice is that the heads that are exported by Creation Kit are not borked, so it will have the correct translation values in the bones. So if you want, it's not necessary, but you can. If you want your NIF to look pretty, you can copy the translation values. So here I'm copying, Control C, the translation value from the head bone, and I'm inserting it in here, and repeat with the spine. For this hair I don't have any clavicle bone weighting, so just spine and head, and then your head is not borked anymore. Okay, the next thing I want to do is copy over the shader for the skin, because when race menu exported my character's head, it didn't export the skin shader, so copy and paste, but you have to have the head highlighted as well, of course, so paste. And now, because the head that race menu exported doesn't have vertex colors, we need to remove the vertex colors from the shader. So you see they're here, vertex color under shaded flags too. Remove, and bam. Now, normally this shouldn't happen. This is actually the first time I've seen it happen, but now you know how to fix it if it should happen to you. As I've already mentioned, when race menu exports your character's head, usually the eyes are missing the subsurface map. So select your eyes, go to the textures, and the subsurface texture goes in the third slot. It's just called eyebrow / whatever it's called, and then SK. So I'm just gonna copy this, correct it, and bam, did you see that? Now it's not glowing bluish white anymore. And save. Vanilla Yordis uses the blank detail map, so no freckles or wrinkles or anything. I want my Yordis to have freckles though, so go to the skin detail slot, it's the fourth one, you can see it right here. And you can either type out the path and double click and just type it out, or you can just click on the flower and select your file like this. So the female skin details are located in Textures, Actors, Character, Female, and here they are, and I'm going to select freckles. So selecting the file like this will put in the absolute texture path, which you don't need. Anything that comes before textures can be deleted. So double click and select and delete. In fact, you can actually delete textures as well. Works too. So now you can save. And she has freckles. Also, now that I know what the file name needs to be, I can just copy the name and just rename my file. The NIF and the tint mask as well, they both need to have the same name. Now we still need to change some things about the NIF, but if you want, you can already overwrite the tint mask. So just take that and drop it in textures, actors, character, face gen data, face tint, and then of course the respective folder, Skyrim.esm or dawnguard.esm, whatever. Replace. Yes. So now when you open your file, you'll notice that she uses the one that we made in-game. Now, what's key for your replacer to work correctly is the shapes, the names, they need to match the information that's stored in your ESP or the base game. The creation kit output will always tell you what the correct names have to be. Technically, you can avoid making an ESP like this entirely, but I can't actually do that because one reason, I'm using the high poly head made by Kulaifu, so I will have to select that head for her, otherwise the game will reference to the low poly tree file and this is not compatible with the head that I made. Second, I changed the skin color, mine's a little darker. And the third reason why I can't avoid making an ESP is because my hair uses two extra parts. It uses the hairline and it uses a scalp as well. The vanilla hair only has one extra part. You just have the hair and you have the hairline, so that's just two parts. That's why we will make the ESP now. Now here you can see all the head parts Yordis is using. This is the information that I mentioned earlier, which needs to match your custom NIF. Now the only time you really need to change anything here though is either when you add or remove parts, like for example a scar, or when your hair has more than one extra part like mine does. And also when you use, for example, a high poly head, because those reference a different set of tree files. I'm using the high poly head on Vectorplexus. I will leave a link to this in the description. So here you have a drop-down list. Normally, Yordis uses the vanilla low poly female head Nord. Now, as you can see, I am using the KLH female head Nord, which is the Kulaifu high poly head. So in order for that head to appear in this drop-down list, as you can see here, all you have to do is set the high poly head ESM as a master, which I already did here. So select that, and if you use the high poly scars or high poly eyebrows as well, you will need to select those as well, of course. Now as you can see, once you've put in the high poly head, the vanilla head will use it too, so if you export this now, it will actually be a smooth vanilla Yordis. So I'm not going to export again though, because my NIF already has the correct head part obviously now, because it matches exactly what I put in here. So Click OK. You don't need to export again, just click OK. And save your ESP. The next thing is the hair. Like I said, I'm using a hair that has 2 extra parts. Technically, you can take a vanilla hair, give it any extra part, save that as a new hair, and then use that on her. For clarity's sake though, I will make new head parts here. So let's start out with the scalp. I'm going to give it the exact same name that mine has. Now, the file path, the model, it doesn't actually need to point to the correct mesh. The only thing that needs to match is the name. So because I want this tutorial to be easier to follow and understand though, I'm still going to select the correct mesh. So click Edit and go to Case Hairdos, Hairline. Here's the scalp. And the tri-file, you can leave it empty, it doesn't matter. Click OK, create a new form, yes. And then let's do the hairline. Copy. And point to the mesh. Again, it doesn't have to be the correct mesh. You can still have it point to the vanilla file. All that needs to match is this ID. Empty the tree file, click OK. So I just made extra parts, yeah? As you can see, they're set to playable. You should set that to unplayable. And as you can see here, it has a tick in is extra part, type miscellaneous. Same for the hairline. So now let's make the main hair, the one that's actually selectable. Let's call that fusion. Make sure that the valid races match the one that your NPC has. So Yordis is a human, so this will be available to her in the drop-down list. Untick playable, and here you can see is extra part is not ticked, but we will put in the correct extra parts here. And the correct mesh. Empty the tree. Okay, new form, yes. So now you can select your Yordis again. And in the drop-down list, you should have your new hair, which will match exactly what you did here because we gave it the same names, so you don't need to change the names here of the hair parts. Click OK, save your ESP. Another thing is that you need to be aware what weight the head uses that you exported from race menu. So vanilla Yordis uses weight 100, but the head that I used uses weight 0, so change that. And click OK. And save. At this point, if you want, you can export from Creation Kit again, whatever is easier for you. But if you already overwrote your tint mask, be aware that Creation Kit will overwrite it again. So either keep a backup or don't do what I did where I overwrote the tint mask very early in the process. So I am not going to export again though, because I already know what I need. So we already made sure that in the ESP Yordis will have the high poly head and that she will have the hair. Now, all that doesn't match are the brows and the eyes. So as you can see, I'm using eyes from a mod called Precious Eyes, and that's why they have this name. Vanilla Yordis uses the female eyes human bright green. So As I've already said, the only thing that needs to match is the name, this right here. So you can click on the TXT symbol and copy, and then just rename the eyes. Here, click OK, and repeat for the brows. And save. Now this would already work in your game. All you have to do now is overwrite the vanilla file in your meshes, actors, character, face gen data, face geom, Skyrim.esm, and then yours is file. Now because we changed her weight, she has a little neck gap. To fix that, type set NPC weight 0, because the head I used also uses weight 0. She switches back to vanilla. Disable, enable, and hello! Gorgeous, she works! Let's say you want your file to be standalone, meaning people can install it and won't have to worry about installing any additional mods in order for it to work. Start off by creating a new folder where all the textures will go. So, by the way, you don't have to worry about including the hair meshes or anything because those are already baked into the head. You don't need to have duplicates of the meshes. Now check in your NIF where all the textures are that you need. Let's start off with the hair. And you can see the texture path here. So let's go there and select those. Here they are. So copy, paste, and rinse, repeat for the eyebrows. Here we have those. For the brow normal map, I think I'll just keep the vanilla file path because it doesn't make that big a difference. Lastly, let's see what textures the eyes need. So they come from here, precious style eyes, so go there. And you need these two. And now don't forget the scalp. It needs the hairline 01 texture, so go to KS Hairdos again. Paste. Now to change the texture paths, just like earlier, just go into the shape again, texture set, and then either you can type out your texture path right here, and visually nothing will change because the file is the exact same, it's just in a different location. Or like earlier, you can click on the flower and just select the file from there and just correct the texture path again. Either works. If you want to go a little faster, you can just copy and paste the part that comes before the file. Copy, and then repeat for all the other shapes. and save. And here I just noticed that earlier I had forgotten to copy over the iron environment mask, so I just did that after that, and it's still gonna work. So the order doesn't matter, whether you first type out the texture path or if you first copy over the textures, as long as after everything is said and done they're all in the correct spot and you have all the correct texture paths in here, it's gonna work fine. And now you're done. If you want and you have all the permissions needed, you can go ahead and share your NPC edit. Remember to just pack up this folder, the tint mask, and this mesh, and you're good. After you optimized your file to Legendary Edition, be aware that it can't have the shader flag packed tangent in any of the shapes, so make sure that this packed tangent is unticked for every shape if you port it to Legendary Edition. And also make sure that you always update your tangent spaces. And then save. And that's all you need to do with the mesh. In race menu, you can rotate the head by right-clicking it, but if you also press and hold Shift and using your right click, you can move the head like this. Now, if you want to add new scars to the face, as you can see, here is the additional head parts tab. And at the moment, she doesn't have any scars selected. And there is no drop-down list or right-click add to add new scars. So what you do is, you leave this window open, you swap to the head parts tab, and there you have all the scars. And in order for them to be in here, you just drag and drop whichever one you want, just click and drag, and then it's right there.